What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Today we're going to be looking at the TSN trade bait board, the first one of the off season, even though it's not really the off season yet because there's still playoff hockey going on. Everything's been so mixed up, and obviously because of a pandemic there hasn't been a trade bait board that would lead into the June, July months. It's just this one here, and then maybe we'll get one midway through the season like there usually is. But for now, this is the first one, and I'm not saying, and TSN isn't saying, and other media outlets are not saying that these guys are for sure getting traded. To be quite honest with you, on a lot of these trade bait boards, it's kind of just things that are thrown out in the rumors and players that these analysts or members of the media believe will get traded. But before I get into it, if you are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. I've been posting almost daily. Sometimes it's every other day, but I've been pretty good about posting as much content as possible. As of late, I would really like to get to a multiple times per day setup, but I'm working with what I got right now, and I've been doing pretty well. So if you want to subscribe and check out hockey trade content most of the time, this is the channel for you. So anyways, definitely check out some of the other videos too, because I talk about signings. But this is 20 to 10, and then I'm going to get to 10 to 1 in a few minutes here. But I want to break down the bottom of the list first, because there are a bunch of names here that might not need as much time to talk about because it could just be speculation, and then there's some names on there that could be quite significant if they do get traded. So towards the bottom of the list, you're seeing a couple heavy hitters on some pretty good teams. So Dougie Hamilton, and you guys can see they've got their age there, as well as other statistics and stuff like that. I need to pull up on the side for me that you guys aren't seeing it right now, but I just want to clarify everything that's on this list so that way it's official. I want to make sure it's right. Okay, so yes, so first you're seeing their position, of course, their age, their games played, their goals, their points, their cap hit, and then the years remaining on their deal. And for goaltenders, you're not going to see points, you're going to see their save percentage. So on the bottom there, like I said, Dougie Hamilton, he definitely had one of those seasons where he's kind of quiet. He's always been a quiet style in terms of the way that he plays on the ice, in my opinion. People could look at it a different way. I think he's more of a quiet type of guy, because sure, he gets some recognition, but at the same time, he doesn't exactly get that mainstream media top 4, top 2 type of defenseman. In my opinion, I think that he's kind of quiet when it comes to his production versus what's in the media. Sorry if that is kind of jumbled together, but he has gotten some attention for maybe his lack of enthusiasm. Apparently, the guy went to museums and stuff like that. I don't know what these people come up with, but regardless, he's a good, point producer. The guy has a very solid cap hit. Only a year left on his deal. Carolina always has a team full of defensemen. They always have a bunch of guys that can play in their top 4. It seems like it's a good problem to have. I don't think Dougie Hamilton's getting traded. I'm just going to put that out there right now. Number 19, Freddie Anderson, has been in the rumors. The latest update is that Kyle Dubas has basically told Freddie that, they're not particularly shopping him, but teams are calling and they're listening. So him being at 19 kind of makes sense, just based off the fact that his name's out there. He's not being shopped heavily. He's not being shopped at all, apparently, but he's out there. His name's out there as an option to be traded, and we'll have to see whether or not that works out. $5 million, 1 year left on his deal. Not going to get too much into the numbers. You guys can see them right there. The guy is a pretty solid goaltender, but there could be some changes in Toronto, and this could be a money style of move, not just a trade based on change. It could be just based off of money as well, to get a goaltender, hopefully for cheaper, that can still play a 1A, 1B type, or take on some games that maybe some teams weren't expecting a goaltender to play a majority of games. I don't know. The Leafs are going to have a big opportunity to try and remodel this team this off season. All right. Rasmus Ristoline, and he's on this pretty much every year at this point. He's 25 years old. Got in a lot of games this year. $5.4 million for the next 2 seasons. Again, he's a right shot defenseman. Bigger frame to him. He's just not the best fit in terms of what teams are looking for, in my opinion. I think he's overpaid a little bit. He can put up points. Like the guy knows how to put up points. and Buffalo needs to make some changes. I honestly am not sure if, to me, it makes sense for Buffalo to move on from him unless they're really just trying to like clean house and just make a new team essentially, because every year Buffalo makes a few moves where I'm like, okay, they look like they're ready to really pick it up here, but it looks like they're just trying some new things. Maybe Ristoline is getting moved. It's been rumored for a couple years now at least, and I can see him getting moved. It's just whether or not teams want to pick up that contract for the next couple years, which it's a little pricey in my eyes. Now, number 17, Andreas Johnsson. This one is pretty self-explanatory. He's been in the rumors for a while, especially since he got injured, and the Leafs replaced him this year with other wingers that were cheaper, and Nick Robertson coming in the playoffs and proving that he looks really good, at least enough to go in there and play some significant minutes. He got some time in the top 6 as well, but Andreas Johnsson is a very talented player. He can score 20 goals. He's quick. But it's just, again, it could be a money move for the Maple Leafs. $3.4 million for him for the next 3 seasons. If he can be a 15 to 20 goal guy, and chip in on maybe a power play unit, it's a good pickup. There's a lot of teams that could use him. For me, I look at a team like Ottawa, a team like Detroit. Just more. You can get a guy who's relatively cheap, who can score you some goals and bring some energy to your team. He's a little chippy as well. I think he'd be a perfect fit on a team that's rebuilding and really needs some pieces that will stick around for a few years and give you some good production. So I like Andreas Johnsson. I'd love for the Leafs to keep him, but it looks like this is going to be a money move for them to move on from him. Jared McCann is a restricted free agent, so again, you can trade for the rights of a player. Left winger, again, some of these restricted free agents, I'm not going to talk too much about, just based off the fact that it would have to be a real like hockey move for these moves to happen. But good player, 24 years old, so you're getting a younger player. 35 points, real solid numbers there. 1.25 million was the former salary of McCann, so definitely an upgrade. A raise is coming, not an upgrade, a raise is coming to that contract, so maybe Pittsburgh feels it's a little bit too expensive for them to upgrade the player, because Pittsburgh is making some moves that are, the Kapanen move was a little questionable, just based off the fact that they gave up a little more than they probably should have, but as a Leaf fan, I'm okay with that. But Jared McCann's getting a raise, so any team that's going to acquire this player, if he does in fact get traded, will have to give him a new contract, or it will go to arbitration, I believe, and there'll be a dollar amount that will definitely be more than $1.25 million. All right, Adam Larson, right-handed defenseman. Again, another guy that's been in the trade rumors for quite some time now. I know a lot of Leaf fans are like, oh, boom, right-handed shot defenseman, perfect, just get it done, okay? There's 1 year left on his deal, $4.17 million. I like Adam Larson. I think that he's good when he's healthy. Obviously you see he didn't get in a full season. Nobody did, but he technically didn't even get, to a solid number like some of these other players did. He didn't get into the 60s. He was only playing like 49 games. He always has injury trouble, so that's a big red flag. If Edmonton is willing to eat money, or, take maybe not as big of a trade to get rid of him, because they do have a pretty solid defensive core, I could see how teams would be willing to make this move. 1 year left on his deal there, but I don't think that they're really going to get enough back for him, and I don't think that the value makes a ton of sense for them to just move on from them, unless it's just a cap space move for them. They just want to clear out money, which when you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on your team, you need to clear out some money if you don't believe players are using their money, properly, if they're not, giving you the production that you want from them, because you need to use that money as best you can to get those guys as much support and help as possible, because they're amazing. But Larson, he's a defensive style guy. He can block shots, kill penalties, but he's only effective when he's healthy. And I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. The guy just gets injured all the time. So we'll have to see where that goes. Alex Claren, again, this is another guy where Tampa just has so much talent. Left winger, 30 years old, 68 games played, so a pretty healthy season, 49 points. Really, really solid season, 26 goals. $4.45 million, pretty good contract for the next 3 years, but, Tampa might want to move on from a deal like this just based off the fact that they have an influx of talent. But whether or not they can hold on to these people because of the flat cap. I don't know if Tampa would be working with an internal cap. I kind of doubt it, but good player. I just, for me, Claren is a really useful player for like any team in the NHL would want him. It's just whether or not you feel that production's going to stay at the same, around the 45 to 50 point range for the next 3 years. That would be perfect, because then that dollar amount is great. That's a great contract. But if his production drops off next year, then you're like, okay, how much did we have to give up for this guy? And maybe you don't have to give up a ton, although I believe you would. Tampa's obviously going to be looking for some younger talent probably in return. But again, teams that could be rebuilding, looking for some scoring help, Claren would be great, but you are going to pay a little bit more just based off the fact that you are looking for that production, and that's the production you're trading for. Vince Dunn, restricted free agent, definitely getting a raise from that $700,000 contract, $723,000. It's going to be at least up over $3 million in my eyes. Vince Dunn's a pretty complete guy. Not like nothing too crazy, but a very solid defenseman. I think that he was great this season for St. Louis. I mean, he's just been great for St. Louis, period. 23 years old. So you're getting a younger guy, 71 games played, 23 points, 9 goals. Very, very solid numbers. And, with the amount of, situations and chaos around St. Louis right now, Vince Dunn could be staying, could be going for the right trade. I don't really know. I think that Justin Falk contract really hurt St. Louis because, in a perfect world, they would just trade Falk and keep Dunn and Pietrangelo. But I think that St. Louis is going to find every way possible to hold on to Vince Dunn. So I don't really know if a trade is in the cards for St. Louis. Nikolai Ehlers, we've talked about this a lot on this channel, so I'm going to keep it to a minimum. If you want to see my Winnipeg Jets video, I talked about Ehlers and Liney. But 24 years old, 71 games played, 58 points, 25 goals, $6 million contract for the next 5 years. That's a great deal. That's a great contract. You're going to have to give up quite a bit for Ehlers. I don't see why Winnipeg would want to move on from this guy. Don't see why they'd want to move on from Liney, unless there's things that we don't know about behind the scenes. But this would be a great pickup for any team. And like I said, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on Ehlers, make sure to watch my other video on this channel. Ryan Dzingel, 1 year left, $3.38 million from Carolina, left winger, 28 years old, 29 points last season. $3.38 million, maybe slightly overpaid, but really good player on a good team. So who knows? You pick him up, you take him for that 1 year, see what he can do, and if your team's not that great at the deadline, you could trade him because teams will be looking for him, or you hold on to him and try to negotiate a new contract. But I like Dzingel, pretty cool, complete player, pretty quick. Big fan. Based off his time in Ottawa as well. Really, I thought he was a pretty good player there as well. It's just, the value of what you would give up for a guy like that. Not really sure what Carolina would be looking for in return. This might as well be a cap move as well, because Carolina is going to need to do some retooling this offseason as well. I think that they would like to at least dip into the goaltending market a bit. I know they have 2 goaltenders currently, but if they can upgrade in that position, they'll try to remove one of their goaltenders. Maybe it's part of a bigger deal. But Dzingel, good winger. Carolina obviously is just looking to shake their roster up a little bit. Chris Letang from Pittsburgh, not really sure why he would be on this. I don't think that it's a possibility. 33 years old, $7.25 million contract for the next 2 years. One of the best defensemen in the NHL for years now. I'm not sure how Pittsburgh is a complete team without a guy like Chris Letang. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't really know where this rumor is coming from, to be quite honest with you. And I like Chris Letang. I think that any team would be, happy to take him on. Whether or not Pittsburgh has an option to replace him, I don't really know why Letang would be on this list. All right, now we're going from 10 to 1 here. Okay, so I already said 10, and that was Chris Letang. All right, going to number 9 here. Marc-Andre Fleury. The rumors have been going crazy just based off the fact that Robin Lehner has basically taken over the starting position in goal for the Vegas Golden Knights. He is going to be a free agent, so if Vegas wants to keep him, sign him to a long-term deal, they're going to have to find a way to trade Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm sure some teams would be interested, but it's a pretty hefty price to pay for a guy that had good numbers but not great numbers. $7 million for a goaltender that's aging. You know, he's 35 years old. And like I said, he did get in a lot of games this year, but those numbers aren't perfect. Some teams that could be looking for an upgrade in goal for like a mentor goaltender that can eat up a ton of games and give you good minutes and good games. Sure, you can acquire Fleury if you have that cap space, but if you're a team looking for a starter and you're really going out there and you're trying to make a splash, I'm not sure that Fleury would be on the top of the list for anybody, but he would be towards the top if you lose out on a free agent goaltender that you're looking for, and you can find a way to make it work. Number 8, Max Domi. All the rumors have been saying that he's pretty much gone. Montreal is going to be moving on from him. I'm a little puzzled with this move. You know, they're saying, oh, like their center, and you know, if they want Domi to play center, I've read this, and you know, their center depth and their wing depth is already good enough. They don't, you know, they don't really need to keep Max Domi. They can find, you know, a better player maybe in free agency. Maybe they'll trade for a player that's a different style than his. But I'm thinking, you know, Montreal should keep Max Domi. He's been a great player for them. You know, just looking at his numbers here, he's only 25. 71 games played, he had 44 points with 17 goals, and that $3.15 million, you know, as a restricted free agent, sure, he could get, you know, he's probably going to be getting a little more than that, but why not hold on to him if you have the money to hold on to him? And he brings an element to the team in which Montreal needs, that grittiness, that feistiness. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Max Domi, but he definitely brings an element that lots of teams would love to have. He's going to stick up for his teammates, and you know, he can score goals. So I'm a little puzzled with this one, but it looks like he's on his way out. Kyle Palmieri, he's been on this list a couple times as well. 29 years old, 45 points for the Devils last year. You know, 25 goals, $4.65 million. Since there's only 1 year left on that deal, I think there's going to be a large market if he actually is really available. I believe the Bruins were in on him last year. That would have been crazy if the Bruins would have got him as well. That team was already so good. But lots of teams should be in on him, and I'm almost wondering if the Devils, to get a bigger amount back, will eat some of that money on that 1 year deal. Could you imagine if the Devils were like, okay, we're going to eat like anywhere between 30% to 50% of his contract? Sure, that's only a couple $1 million. But imagine getting Palmieri on your cap for like just over $2 million. You're going to have to give up a pretty decent package to acquire him. So if I'm the Devils, you know, they have some money. They're not going to be good this year. They don't have a ton of money, but like they have enough to where they can eat a little bit of a contract and, you know, gain back valuable assets. That's the route I think they're going to go. And if they do that, man, Palmieri is going to be a very, very valuable asset for any team going into next season. Could you imagine if he's available still at the deadline and he's putting up similar numbers, and they still are going to eat money, especially when, you know, you have a little bit more access, and that number, especially if you're working with an internal cap, goes down, like you're not paying him as much. They are going to get a king's ransom for him if they get the chance. And I'm not talking like this guy's the best player in the NHL, but he can be a difference maker for depth on any team. So look out for that one. Shane Gostisbehere from the Philadelphia Flyers, a team that's been very good this season. Obviously still in the playoffs while this video is being recorded. Left-handed defenseman, 27 years old, has had sort of like a back and forth career already, because he was, you know, touted, you know, very highly as, oh my, this guy's the next big thing in the NHL for defensemen. You know, he's putting up points, he looks pretty solid, but it's been up and down for him, and that contract is just too expensive. I think that they're looking for a taker for that deal. 3 years left on the contract, $4.5 million. If you can find the right fit for him, sure, but it's kind of expensive for teams to just take a shot on him, especially if you're not believing in him as, you know, the guy, not the guy, but at least one of your top guys. And, you know, if you're going to pay a guy $4.5 million, you're hoping to get a little bit more production and overall gameplay from him. Number 5, Patrik Laine. Again, if you want to, you know, hear my full thoughts on this, I made a video on it on this channel, so please go check it out. I don't think Winnipeg's going to trade him. The guy just puts up monster numbers. 63 points in 68 games played, 28 goals. you know, in a full healthy season, Patrick Liney's giving you 35, 40 goals, no problem. He had his troubles this year, but I think that Liney is the type of guy, when he's on a roll, when that guy's hot, there's no stopping him. And like I said, just make sure to go and check out my video. 1 year left on that deal. He's definitely going to be getting a raise. So if Winnipeg just feels like, you know, we're getting rid of this guy, we want to get as much back as we possibly can, they're going to get a huge package for him, but it's just not worth it. They need to hold on to him. Oliver Ekman Larson, another guy where it's like, because Arizona is in trouble in terms of, you know, they had to just give up a bunch of draft picks, so they might want to recoup some stuff. You know, they got into some legal trouble. They're probably going to be working with an internal cap. They need to shed some money. Larson's got a big deal. 7 years left at $8.25 million. He's overpaid. I know that there's Leaf fans and, you know, fans of other teams that are like, oh, just go get him. It's too expensive. His contract's too much. That deal's going to be brutal by the end of it. He's 29 years old. You know, 30 points in 66 games played last year. He's a top 4 guy. You know, you want him on that top 2, obviously, but he's getting paid way too much money. I think that his days of being elite are over. I think that he's good, but I think his days of being an elite defenseman in this league are over. And again, I could take some heat for that. I just think he's getting paid way too much money. Josh Anderson from Columbus, again, guy's going to get a raise. He's a restricted free agent. I think Columbus holds on to him. 26 years old, 4 points in 26 games played. It's not going to be a huge raise. It definitely wasn't the greatest year because of injuries and stuff like that. Only 26 games played. $1.85 million, if you look at his track record. He might be around the same or a little bit more, but I don't know. Maybe he's just going to be packaged together with somebody else and dealt. You can't really talk too much about restricted free agents. Like I said before, Columbus will probably hold on to him. James Van Riemsdyk at number 2. Big contract for him, $7 million, with 3 years remaining on that. Maybe they're just trying to sell high. They don't really know if he's going to keep that production up. 19 goals, 40 points. Of course, as a Leaf fan, I've seen a ton of JVR. The guy's fantastic as a person. He's a great hockey player, but he's kind of a one-dimensional player. You know, he's good offensively. He's good. He's a great power play guy, but you're not going to get much else. He's a liability in the defensive end, and he's not very fast. He's got great hands, but I mean, he's getting paid too much money. I mean, when Leaf fans seen him go and they were like, oh, they'd let him go for free. Philly's got a great player. Yeah, they do. He's fantastic when he's healthy. 40 points in 66 games played. He's good, but he's overpaid. He's a little bit overpaid. And that 3 years left on that deal could hurt any team that acquires him. He's 31. That production might drop off, or it could stay the same, but I think it's going to drop off. Number 1, Matt Murray. He's been in the trade rumors, of course, mostly with the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Colorado Avalanche. Ottawa, I believe, has kicked tires there. But 26 years old, got a couple cups under his belt already. 38 games played, 2.87 goals against average, not the greatest. You know, .899 save percentage, which is not very good. $3.75 million cap hit was his previous cap hit. And, of course, he's a restricted free agent, so any team getting him would have to go to arbitration or sign him to a long-term deal. Apparently, the Leafs were interested in Matt Murray, but they think that his arbitration number is going to be quite high, and that's according to Elliot Friedman as well. So I just don't know if the Leafs are interested in, you know, taking on that you know, responsibility, especially if he doesn't, you know, play up to par. If he's not as good as a Freddie Anderson, then why not just keep a Freddie Anderson? So Matt Murray, I've made videos on him on the channel, so if you want to check that out, there is stuff there. But this is the 20 names that are on the TSN trade bait board. If you are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And let me know what you guys think. Are they going to get, which of these guys are going to get traded? If you have any hypothetical trades, let me know. But yeah, subscribe if you're new. Appreciate you guys as always, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.